Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Tony Sirianni podcast. I am thrilled to have Barry Sommers with us. Barry Sommers is the CEO of Wells Fargo Wealth Investment Management. Does that sound right?
It sounds right.
All right. Well, I haven't seen you in like 15 years, and you look great. You look like you haven't had a carb in 15 years.
Well, it's like it gets harder every year. I appreciate you acknowledging it. I will tell you, now I just turned 56.
Well,
Feel
there you go.
good, feel good,
Good.
but every day is a challenge.
Well, I know. Well, I'm actually older than you, and I eat pizza like as much as I can during the week. So that's
That's good.
I'm on a different track, Barry. You know.
You're probably happier than me then.
Well, I'm so glad you're here because I did want to talk about, uh, what I think is just really a tremendous opportunity that Wells saw in the space in the independent world, versus the other wires who have sort of not gone down this road, and you guys have figured out how to work in the independent world at the same time offer all the high end services and products and things like that you would expect from a wirehouse. So it seems to be, I guess my question to you would be, is that a tough tightrope to walk, over at Wells Fargo, or is everybody committed and you're just getting down the road on it?
Yeah. So the answer is everybody's committed. The reality is, and this is the way we look at it, but and you know this better than anybody. Like the advisor landscape's changing. And it's a lot different than when you and I started a long time ago. If you started a long time ago, you start at one of the big places. They have a training program. Those days are gone. And what's interesting about our business is if you look back in the last 10 years, like the three big ones, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and us, for the most part, are roughly the same size. 10
Yeah.
years. So you say, well, that's interesting. Well, what's happened? Well, what's happened is a lot of recycling under those, back and forth, but almost all the growth is going to the independent side. So that's just a fact. And so when you take a look back and you say, why is that the case? I mean, there's very good reasons why if you and I were starting a practice, why that may be the right thing for us. And for our whole concept, philosophy is like the advisor's in the best position to decide whether he or she should be independent or not, right?
Right.
That's and so you make that decision. But what we try to do is we want to grow this platform where you come to Wells Fargo as an advisor, right? And we give you state of the art technology, access to great products, everything that we do, and I feel really good about. And no matter what division you go to, you'll get that, right? So the concept is like ours is like independent may not be right for you today. One day it will be, or it may be, and if or when it is, we're going to make it seamless and easy for you to transition if you do that.
How come this seems like such a that's the most rational thing I've ever heard a wirehouse CEO say, because it seems like it's common sense, right? That this is where the industry is going. Look, and I don't want to ignore the fact that it was sort of adversarial for a long time. I mean, the people made a boon out of their culture. Just, hey, we're not a wirehouse. That's our culture. Okay, great. But there has been this movement, and you figured out a way to take advantage of it. I'm just curious to why there's so much resistance at the other wirehouses not to take advantage of it. Because, like you said, you actually laid out a map that there might be a life cycle to this thing. You know what I mean? I think that's true
Yeah,
as well.
I think there's a life cycle, and the reality is that's been the independence been part of our platform, for a long time. I think like what you've seen in the last 5 years since I got here is that is to significantly invest in that platform, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're right, that exists here. To answer your question on why others will or may not, the reality is it does have P&L implications, right?
Right.
So now our theory, our strategy philosophy is very simple. Is again like if that trend's happening, it's going to happen whether we view like, okay, build that platform, like and they'll be there. I imagine at some of the other places, starting a brand new independent channel and putting it next to like a core regular wirehouse model, is like may have like some pretty significant P&L implications, right? So if you take a look at like our makeup right now, figure almost 25% of our advisors are independent. We actually
Yeah.
think that number is going to grow, and for both reasons, not only because people from the wirehouse move over, but like we're actually hiring a lot more into that channel. And when that happens, like our whole goal is we're going to grow this business. It's a top line revenue opportunity for us, all we want to do is be in position to attract the best advisors and to give them access to a really good platform once they get here, regardless. So, like, I think, I wouldn't be surprised over the next few years if you see some other people get involved. I will tell you, like, the other big advantage we have, and this is historically the independents used to be smaller shops and didn't
Right.
have access to, what makes our story so compelling is you get the independent, chassis, for lack of better words. I have all the bells and whistles of running your own place, but you're connected to the resources of a world class institution. I mean, like trading, capital markets, investment banking, and the big one is
Yeah.
lending.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right. You had to. There was a give and a get always with an RIA. I'm going to give up some
Yeah,
of the sophisticated products and the services. And when we were first hiring guys, to come join our little firms, that was a big hill to climb. But
yeah,
can you do this? Can you do that? And sometimes it was no. We can't.
that's right.
So
And what's happened, what's changed. You're exactly right. So, like, and that was a trade-off people made. But like, since then, what's happened in our business is, it used to be an RIA may say, you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm going to manage Tony's
right,
money, and when he needs a loan or banking, he's going to come to me, and I'll introduce him to someone who
right.
like what's happened though is, remember, that RIA, that person who may want to borrow a loan, that bank who's going to talk to them about that loan are very interested in having those assets moved over, and and doing and being a client, more, not just a lending opportunity. So the reality is like what we've told RIAs is, if you want to be in that space, like even for defensive reasons, like connected to a balance sheet, and your ability to be able to execute on both sides of the balance sheet for your client is it used to be a nice to have. It's going to be a need to have in the future. So what we
Yeah,
say is, like, that's our philosophy.
yeah. I think that it's easy to make the comparison and the compelling story from a guy who's sitting in a wire now, and you can talk about payouts and independence and setting up your platform. That's one thing, but I do think there's an argument to be made for other current RIAs that, hey, scale helps. We actually have a balance sheet, versus. Look, I started a couple of my own firms. It's scary when you wake up in the night and the guy needs a success, but you don't have any capital. You know what I mean? So you don't run into that problem there.
Yeah, and again, so it's lending, it's trust services, it's regular banking services. I mean, like, it used to be you bank somewhere, you invest somewhere. Now most of those places you could do both, and clients actually want to do everything they can at one primary bank. This is just another example of us delivering that and saying to people, listen, like, you don't know what the future is, but if that's the right decision for you to make one day, like, you should be able to make it, and we'll do it seamlessly, right? And so that doesn't mean that you can come here and we can write a big, check, and you could leave the next day. Like, you have to be, but like, we have probably, call it 300 to 250 to 300 people a year that move over in our channel, that naturally migrate there out of our 12 or 13,000, and that number is pretty consistent. What's really exciting about our independent channel is, for the first time, we're starting to attract a lot of other independents to that channel.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
one is, okay, you're a wirehouse person, you want to be independent, you need the resources. That's a great story for us. The second best, really good story is, hey, I may have been on one of these platforms, and the platform may have suited me fine at some point. But as my business has gotten larger and I need more resources, it's really the next to balance sheet, trust services, like, your ability to do that is really important. So
Well,
we're like really excited about it.
you're also the platform also lends itself, which is, by the way, having a robust platform is probably how you solve the P&L riddle, right? Too, because they're using a lot of goods and services, but you also are associating with firms. So a lot of firms are out there in the marketplace competing, and they're saying, "Well, I got the Wells platform," and they're able to deliver equity, which is something that everyone's looking at, not just enterprise value. So, or let me help you with your enterprise value, right? So that's also something I think that's really unique, certainly among the wires.
It's unique, and, like, again, and the way people monetize their business and see value in it, like, they didn't have it. Like, there are people, like, you and I know very well, building big businesses and
Yeah,
buying equity into those practices. And by the way, the equity, the tax ramifications of that equity
I
is
know,
far
right?
different than your traditional loan. So it's like, it all makes sense. So it's one of these things where, like, that trend is happening, and we've worked hard over the last couple of years to position ourselves really well as that trend continues, and we're picking up market share because people are realizing you can come here and operate your business and get all the resources regardless of what channel you look at.
No, well, and grow your enterprise value, because I think that's like sort of, that's right in front of everybody right now. They're like,
right in front of you.
and then if I can scale and then have the opportunity to develop equity in something larger than me, well, geez, what the heck? I mean,
Totally.
that's something, I don't know, when we started the business, that wasn't really a thing. You didn't really get to,
Wasn't a thing.
it wasn't a
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
we're
remember also
excited. We're excited about it.
yeah, yeah. I also remember it not being a thing. There was a guy in the office, and he was doing a couple $1 million a year, which was huge back then. He had no idea what his asset size was. We just
Right.
didn't track. Who
Right.
knew? Who knew what it
Yeah.
was? Well, speaking of which, so in order to have these sort of multiple and successful kind of in each one, silos. That's a terrible way to say it. Of advisors, you got to have good technology. So the technology is sort of something that advisors are concerned about. They were always concerned when they were moving to RIA that there was going to be a diminution in technology. Today, I think the concern is more around AI and what is that, what are the implications there? And certainly, you could look at it both ways. There are drawbacks and benefits to having a large firm, working on AI. I assume it's something you're thinking about, you're having meetings about, you're trying to figure out how best to deliver, AI.
Oh,
And then the other
yeah.
side of the question would be, well, if I'm a real small firm, I can go out and just pick these small AI providers, and when I'm done with them, I'll get the next one.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like, yes, we're thinking like, I mean, thinking about it, spending a lot of time. We're like, as an enterprise, we're really well organized around this. It's like it's going to change every
Yeah.
business, right? It's not a question like we used to move last year, 2 years ago. Is it a fad? And now we're all convinced it's like it's a new way of doing business. And if you're not on top of it and thinking about it, you're going to fall way behind. So it's like it's
And
involved.
by
It's
the way,
risk.
that's a danger for this independent guy, sitting in
Totally.
Peoria, and just his head down doing business every day. Things are moving faster than you can keep up with there.
Totally, it's moving faster, and like part of our role and responsibility of being this platform is to be ahead of that. Like, for example, what what I'll call it our tech stack. The platform that we provide people, whether you're independent or not. The way you get on in the morning, the way you look at your accounts, the way you use your CRM, that whole tech stack, right? Like what we've done, like 5 years ago when I got here, and we went on a little bit of a listening tour, we realized like our technology wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah.
So we did the smartest thing is you go out to advisors, they'll tell you exactly what they're looking for. And so we spent probably a little over $1 billion, and it took about 2.5, 3 years. And so we rolled out brand new technology. It's called Advisor Gateway. On top of that technology, just think of AI. It's not like AI sits. So every day when that advisor walks in, and however their screen pops up, and whatever they're going to organize their day, next best idea, pulling up account, Mrs. Smith's coming in later. Think of this AI we call a teammate that sits on top of
Yeah.
Advisor Gateway and is constantly making sure you're being efficient. So like in the old days when the client came in and there was 3 or 4 forms they needed, instead of like having a CA spend an hour and a half prepping for that meeting. AI will do that whole thing for you. They'll tell you exactly what to talk about. Like, so that's a great example of like AI will sit on top of the whole thing. But and again, what we're also trying to do for people is explain to people like this is new, and we're going to educate you because it keeps on changing.
Yeah.
But AI, the biggest question I get all the time is like, do I think AI will ever take the place of an advisor?
Replace. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is I really don't. Everyone who's tried to cut out the FA in this business has
Well,
made a
it's
big
funny.
mistake.
The challenge in my mind is more like, what's the regulation and what's the regulatory environment around it? People are recording all of now their meetings with clients. I know Sifma Ronkoshevsky was saying this at our event. Hey, there are issues around that. It has to be right. And if you're Elizabeth Warren, sitting on a committee, you could easily see where she could say, look, you had this 401k for a client, but you ran it through AI. These are all AI recommendations. What did you do? You can also see her saying, hey, you had this client, a 401k, and you didn't run it through AI. That could be a problem.
Yep.
I mean, where are we coming? Where are they going to come in?
Okay, so like the best thing, you're right. You're not sure, but the best thing, like the way our strategy is this technology is going to be like life changing, right?
Right.
We literally like as a management team, like every single week we're tracking like 3 or 4 like very large use cases. We like the rollout, discuss how it's going to be used. Right now we have 2 or 3 in pilot that like advisors are using today. We're learning a lot about, and that's the best way. We'll have we had a meeting last week with this initial group that's starting to use the technology. I mean, it was amazing to hear like
Yeah.
advisors who wake up every single day and do the job, telling us like that was great. And this, I know what you're trying to do, but wouldn't you be better off having it here? So like we're like this is going to take a little bit, but the technology part, if you're one of these RIAs, you better pick a place that number one is thinking that way, and also, by the way, has the resources, to implement it. I
Well, see,
mean,
now, one thing you said earlier was that you don't think that, and I think that's everybody says that, right? But it's not going to replace advisors. You're always going to need a relationship, and I think that that's true. But it's true to a degree. In other words, I think there will be a have and have nots, right? You'll have a separation at some point where the people who are associated with firms that are moving forward or understand it enough to get the scale to adopt AI and use it correctly are going to separate themselves from the advisors who don't. I'm just going to like, but
totally. And so one of our things that like I view it as kind of like our role responsibility is, we'll spend a lot of time with our advisors, just educating them just in general.
yeah,
I think like every advisor out there, I guarantee if their client hasn't asked about it already, but that comes up in almost every conversation because that's what, the client's in a business where AI is changing the world. So like like I think advisors need to have like a really good story, like, and really understand what kind of technology are we thinking about, but most
right.
importantly, like why is that good for the client? And the reality is almost every time like this technology is going to make us like be more efficient, better ideas. It's going to create efficiencies, which is going to allow an advisor to spend more time on productive stuff. So it's like
Well,
it's everybody's it's the topic everybody wants to talk about, and we're excited about some of the stuff we're working on here.
how do you so how do you as CEO, it's a big firm, a lot of people that work at
Yeah,
Wells Fargo. Well, how do you deliver those messages at scale? How do you make sure that what you guys lab out is going to be understandable, relatable, and that you're getting the advisors as enthusiastic and the assistants who are going to be as
totally.
enthusiastic as you guys are? It's
So
hard
the
to
way
do it.
we very hard, and what we've learned is like the best way to do. First of all, you have to leverage the CAs. I mean,
Right.
you speak to any advisor, like any great advisor will tell you they have a great CA. I mean, like they're imperative in this whole relationship. We've been spending like the CAs are very involved. The group of CAs very involved. And when we roll this stuff out, we try it, we look at it because like they're the people who are using it most likely. So the answer to your question is we do a couple of things. One is we have these groups, these councils that 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 use this technology and try it out and provide us incredibly valuable input. And that's CAs and advisors. Think about it like we have a war room set up where you have an advisor, CA in there, and we say, okay, client comes in and wants to do this, what has to happen when you like lay it out in a room and you see all those steps.
Yeah.
It's really it's very it's a mind-blowing experience, and you say, wow, now I can see how this is laid out. We're all over the place. Technology is going to allow us to streamline this. So like we have them try it, we have them use it. We actually don't like, we really value their input. Sometimes the inputs, even if we can't change it, it's going to help us when we roll it out. And then the second thing we're doing differently is, I think in the old days, you roll out a platform, and you put it on a call and say, we're really excited. And those days are over. Like we actually like are very deliberate on how we train people. So
Yeah.
we have a morning call, right? Like you want to be on that call, right? And that call is going to, is going to articulate to you, like how this technology can help you. We're not just going to roll it out and say, here it is, right? No,
Right.
we're gonna we're gonna explain it to you. We're gonna give you best practices. There is actually we have 40 markets. We have this market sales manager who sits in every market. One of their responsibilities is to make sure we get adoption of all this great technology.
Yeah, but
And
your problem, the size of your firm, you're going to be a microcosm of that too. You're going to have adapters that are going to come in and they're going to be all over it, right? And they're going to be leaders and they're going to go, and you're going to have some people who are going to be reluctant. It's going to be pulling them.
yeah, and you know what? Like what's nice about our business and what's nice about their role is like, that's the relationship we have. Like I'm like, what my responsibility is like if they're using our platform, that I'm providing them with like state of the art technology tools to grow their business. Then I want to have something in the middle that trains them and shows them the benefit. At the end of the day, they make their decision,
Right.
right?
They got to figure it out.
You got to
It's
figure it
like
out.
kids.
And I will tell you this, one of the things that's really kind of helped here, this wealth transfer that everybody's talking about, this
Yeah.
$120 trillion, that to me is the real impetus to get people. If you were thinking, all right, I get it, the younger generation is different. Like the reality is over the next 20 years, there's a ton of money in motion. and you can actually be very prescriptive, and you can know exactly where it's going, what's going to X, what's going to Y, what's going to Z. And we know a lot about X, Y, Z, everything about them, right?
Yep.
So like it's like a take-home test. This money's going to change hands, and these people are generated X, Y, Z are much more tech savvy and much more comfortable. Like you and I may have like 10 years ago, if I would have told you, people wanted to go on something called Facebook or this and that, and like tell everybody what they do every day and take a picture, we would have said, really? Who wants to do that? The
Well,
reality is
yeah.
people like to do that.
Yeah. Why
You
would you
know?
want to do it? I,
Yeah.
you know,
So
I think that this, a real challenge in our industry. It's not, necessarily even just dealing with Gen X. It's finding a succession plan, finding where the training program. So when I started with the Merrill Lynch training program, everybody did, right? That was the best. And I used to say the best job in the world is to fail out of the Merrill training program, because then you're trained, you know how to do sales, and you're very valuable to everyone in the RIA community who doesn't have anybody. So when you're dealing with RIAs and dependents, there is a give and a get. And the give is you don't have the training programs. You're going to have to, you struggle to find people to come in and join. Is there a way to address that in a macro level for you guys?
well, I think like the reality is like if you look at our base, like we're on a regular basis, we want to like grow we want to have more advisors, right?
Right.
We don't need to, and we have scale, but like we want to attract really good advisors, want to do the right thing, to our platform. There's two ways to do that. You can attract people like from other firms and bring them there, and that's a great muscle that we didn't have in place. Like if you take a look at our performance over the last couple of years, I mean, there's like we're doing really well on attracting people, which is great, and
We write
that's
about
good.
it every day, Barry.
Yeah, exactly. But that's new. So that's great. But the second part is like there are people who have done a really good job at Wells, or really good at bringing in younger talent. So like that
Yeah.
training program that you and I are used to, that was terrific. It was
Yeah.
institutionalized. You went there, but it was a numbers game.
Yep.
Hire 3,000 at the end, and they knew it. Like at the end of 10 years later, if there's 40 and they're big producers, and it worked. The reality is to me, what makes those work or not is, does the advisor have skin in the game?
Yep.
If you're an advisor and I say, hey, thanks for being here at Wells, I'm gonna give you this person. They just graduated college. They're great. You can have them for 2 years. I'm gonna pay their salary. I'm gonna pay them. You train them, and then you shouldn't expect great results, because like not every advisor is good at training or wants to do that. So we said to advisors, hey, listen, like if you want to invest in your business and bring on some young people, like I want to be a partner, and to be a partner. So financially we'll be their partner. That to me is the best way to grow the business, because now this advisor, they're not using this person to be administrative, right? It's like, okay, wait a second, a year and a half, 2 years from now, the salary part's going to go away, right?
Yeah.
It's their responsibility too to make sure that this new advisor is got like it like has a 2 year time period, better have all the tools necessary to actually like earn their way to the practice. So like
Right.
that's how we're doing it. It's not of a centralized huge FA training program, but we allow people to go out and have the flexibility to do that. We participate economically. It's worked out well for us.
No, I love that. I guess a final sort of thing we talked about a little bit, some products and services. My contention is that AI can look in the public markets. It can only look backwards, right? like us. However, it can't look in the private markets. So I think, advisors using alternatives and, private credit, things like that, is a lot more of the future, because that's where they're going to add a lot of value if you can sort of go in AI and say, give me an ETF, right? I mean, so your thoughts are on that.
You're 100% right. Again, like think of this AI as like clients have access to it. They're going to be smarter. They're going to know more. Your comment around alts is exactly right. Like the reality is like world's changing very quickly,
Yeah.
and like your ability to be able to like notice those trends and allocate money to the right people is really important. And technology is going to help us do that. Like the reality is it's going to, again, it's not. I think the advisor is going to have technology. The clients can have access to more stuff. And you're right. So like if you were kind of like, it's not a question of if this is happening, it's happening very quickly.
Correct.
And so what's nice is that another better part about our strategy is, yeah, you better be nimble. The second thing
Yeah.
is you better have a lot of resources to roll the stuff out. I mean, it's not like these are not small rollouts. I mean, we're spending considerable amount of money on this, and to me, they all have a really good business case next to it. It's going to change our platform, but it's not a hobby, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we're bringing people along for the ride. Like we'll tell people, hey, listen, here's what you can do today. We'll get their feedback. Hey, it would be great if on page 2, I love that. That's great. Keep
Right.
on giving us feedback. Be patient, and we'll get there. But it's an exciting time.
So the last thing, a little birdie told me that your mother's an RIA, and that
Yeah.
she
Well,
was she was
my mother.
groundbreaking, like one of the first women in doing it.
Yeah, it's amazing. She actually got licensed in 1983 or 84, and at the time there wasn't a lot of women advisors. She was actually a sales assistant, and then she, like, fast forward now, she's 82 years old. She's still a bit. She's a financial advisor. She's loves her clients. The clients love her.
Sure,
She
they love
still has
her.
a
Yeah.
practice. She's got a great team around her, and she's kind of set an example for me. Of, like, always do the right thing, and the fact that, like, I have a mom who's been a pioneer. I grew
Yeah,
up around this. I always grew up going, like, I really value what advisor does, and the way we run this place is like none of us would have jobs if we wouldn't have advisors. So, like, growing up around it's been very helpful for me.
that's great. Well, yeah, I'm going to end on that. That's a high note, I would say, and appreciate you being here.
So
We'll do this again. There's more to talk about.
you got to appreciate your time, and love reading your stuff. So thanks for everything you do.
Thanks.